Hello and welcome to the Nexus Report. My name is Tony Ray, I'm your community manager, and I've got Stefan Frost, as always, right here on my right side. He is producer for WildStar. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. So here's the thing. I'm not going to read what you have about the banter.
Finally!
It's too disgusting.
That's right.
And if I read it, then I'll have to say it.
Yep.
And it's gross.
And I would do it.
I know you would.
I would do it.
I know you would. Here's the thing, though. If you win the show notes today, you can find out and then tweet out how disgusting Tony Ray is at a later point in time.
I figured, I was like, when I was typing it, I was like, there's no way he's going to read this. And I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
it worked, ladies and gentlemen. I beat him. I beat the banter boss. Okay. We've got some updates today. Last week we had an interview with Hugh Shelton. He's the lead class designer, and it went so well. There were so many questions, a ton of questions that we did not get to, that we had a part 2 today. So we're going to have a part 2. The way you can get your questions answered is through the Twitch chat. Type them in Twitch chat, or you can go to our WildStar Reddit. Go to our Reddit, our WildStar on Reddit, and I have a post there. It's right at the top of our Reddit page. Post in there and then upvote any questions you see that you'd like answered. Obviously, the upvoted questions are going to be easier to find. They're going to be at the top of the page, and I'll be pulling from those. So those are your 2 ways today to get your questions in on Twitch chat and on Reddit. We like to mix it up a little bit. Sometimes we pull questions from Facebook. Sometimes we pull questions from Twitter. Yeah, like I said, we like to mix it up. Those are just kind of the easiest ways to get your questions in. Anyway, that'll be coming up in just a little bit. We're going to give you some WildStar updates. We've also got some fan art today, which I'm very excited about. We finally have a fan art title page.
We came up.
That's right.
That's what that means.
We leveled up our fan art game, because usually it's just me like doing this stupid like hand thing, you know? And now we have an image.
And no more stupid hand thing.
It only took 26 shows. That's a lie. I don't know how many shows this is. We hotfixed patch last night. I'm going to jump right into WildStar updates. We hotfixed patch last night. It was a good patch because we finally fixed the body type issues that we implemented accidentally. It basically made a lot of players fatter. You know, your Chuas were nice, and they went from like cute to like, you got a problem. We need to talk about it. You should probably stop eating that much. Yeah, so we fixed the body type issues with that. Also, the Orin male had like these creepy like slack jaw things. It was all messed up. That is now fixed. So those body type issues have been fixed. If you're not seeing those changes, please let our support know and submit a ticket. But yeah, all those things definitely should be fixed now. We will have a larger patch coming later this week. That is all. It's going to be all bug fixes. We wanted to get these character body type issues fixed as soon as possible, because we know you guys put a lot of time into creating the perfect character. You know, role play is a huge part of this game. So we wanted to get that fixed as soon as possible. Let's see. WildStar Fighting Championship, the WFC. Another winner was crowned. Fru won this last weekend. Oh, what are you doing?
I'm sorry. I had to adjust the mic.
You good?
I'm good.
Are we good?
Are
we great? It works? No, it's worse. No, he muted him. You've been muted. Oh, Frost is muted. Everybody, Frost has been muted, and I'm the only one with audio. My dreams have come true on this day. Okay, all right, let's go. Yeah, they can't hear you, Frost. Stop talking. Anyway, WildStar Fighting Championship. Fru was crowned another winner. Later this month, the big championship is going to be taking place between Fru and Robin Hu. If you have any questions about WildStar Fighting Championship, it's a really cool thing that is going on right now by Den of Geeks. So check it out, wildstarfightingchampionship.com. It's a lot of fun, a lot of cool stuff. The big announcement for today is the PAX Community Meetup and Cosplay Contest. It's happening at PAX. If you are going to PAX, we will be there, and we want to hang out with you guys. So on Friday, the August 29th, from 7 to 11 p.m., we're going to be in downtown Seattle. The location is still we can't announce it publicly. We're working on like a final contract that should be signed this week, and I'll be posting exactly where. The main thing is you need to start working on your cosplay. Get your WildStar cosplay in action right now, because at the fan meetup, we're going to be giving away a ton of cash.
A ton of cash.
Straight up cash that we're going to be giving to you guys. Well, it'll be a check, but we're going to give it to you guys. The winner, the first place winner, is going to get $500 flipping dollars. $500.
Not bad.
I mean, that will help out your PAX pay. You know what I'm saying? You can go to PAX the next day and get a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know what happened to my voice right there. That was really weird. It was like a demon took over my voice. Like Shadow Blaze jumped into my voice for a second.
That was really true.
Oh, well, kind of.
No,
$500 grand prize, $100 to second place, and $50 to third place. Everybody's getting swag. We're gonna bring a ton of swag, so we're gonna raffle all that off. We'll have drinks, appetizers. It'll be a fun time. So if you're in the PAX area, even if you're just in the Seattle area, you do not need a PAX badge to come. There's more info on the forums. I've posted in the news and announcement forums. So check out that thread if you have any questions, or tweet at us. We'll be tweeting up and through there.
Yeah, there'll be a couple of devs there. I will be going there, as well as Chad Moore, aka Pappy. Will be up there. I think KDM is going. I think there's probably see Steve Moray. There's a bunch of devs.
There's also a bunch of devs that are just going on their own personal time that will most likely go to the community event because they love the community. I mean, they're not required to, like you. You're required.
Well, look,
you're required.
I fought to go because I really wanted to go.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. So once again, you do not have to have a PAX badge to go to that. If you want to hang out with the devs, maybe get a chance at winning some swag, you should definitely cosplay. Even if you don't have the time, just throw some kind of cosplay together. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. We'll have a lot of pictures. Also, real quick, it is 21 and over after 10 o'clock. So from 7 to 10, you can be a kid. You can come on in with your parents. You'll be fine. But after 10 o'clock, just that last hour, the bar is going to make us kick you out if you're under 21. I know. But you still get 3 hours. That's a good time. And that's we're going to do the contest at 9 o'clock. So if you're under 21, you could definitely still apply or be in the cosplay contest. Wanted to talk about our Twitter accounts real quick. So at every show, we post a bar here with @TonyRay and @StephenFrost to let you guys know that you can contact us whenever you want, right? You like being contacted.
Sure.
You like getting questions.
Sure.
But there are personal accounts. And so every once in a while, we might happen to post something that's not WildStar related. You know?
Yeah, like my dog Walter.
Your dog Walter. My dog Bailey.
Right.
We should have a doggy date.
Nope, let's not do that.
Look, we're going to have a doggy date, and we're going to post about it on our Twitter.
I'm not going to do any
The
of that.
main point is, if you're looking for only WildStar updates, I totally understand that. Definitely follow @WildStar or any of our fan sites. Because, yeah, there are personal accounts, so please, have some respect with that. We try and be there for you guys 24/7. I see you answering tweets in the middle of the night. I answer tweets in the middle of the night. So we're trying to open up those accounts for you so you can kind of have some access to us 24/7. But yeah, let's keep it classy. San Diego. I feel like a real newsman now.
He's not a real newsman.
I
which is the
feel
weird
like
thing.
one though. I feel like one.
Anyway.
All right, we're gonna get right into some Hugh Shelton action. Once again, if you have some real good action. If you have any questions for Hugh Shelton about class design, please post them in the Twitch chat right now, and we're going to be pulling a lot of those. Also, go to our Reddit page and submit your questions there. I have a post there. It should be around the top. Post there, and I'll be pulling questions from Reddit throughout the interview. The rest of the show is going to be a Q&A, class discussion with lead class designer Hugh Shelton, and then later on we'll do some fan art. So tune in. We'll be right back after this little video break. In a second.
In a second that we're not prepared for.
2 more seconds. 3 more.
T for teen. Damn right. Welcome to WildStar. This is DevSpeak. This disclaimer will self-destruct. Now. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Guess what? Guess what? It's time for player versus player! So excited. We're dropping a bomb on your face. That bomb is Sabotage, aka Drop 2, aka Daggerstone Pass, a 15 versus 15 battleground with mounts. Boom. Here's the sitch. You have a base. Your enemy has a base. Protect your fusion core, destroy their fusion core.
Win!
Capture and hold uplinks throughout the map to call in periodic airstrikes on the enemy's core. Sounds simple, right? But you forgot my favorite part, bombs! Now what they tell me you're supposed to do is grab a bomb, take it to the enemy base, and use it on their fusion core. But what do I like to do? A little sabotage. Enemies protecting their uplink? I'm gonna stroll up in here and drop a little ticking time bomb. Sabotage. Oops, I just killed you. Why don't I take that bomb off your hands and drop it on your base? Sabotage. Oh, did you guys want this extra bomb? Only 2 seconds left, but it's a sabotage. Hey, friendly teammates, we should stick together. Oh no, sabotage. Oh, wait a second. Whoa, get away, get away! Sabotage. Let us know what you think. The devs are listening.
And we are back. That was a short video break. And we are joined by lead class designer Hugh Shelton. Thank you so much for coming back, man.
Thanks for having me again.
I appreciate it. That was a long walk, I know, from the other building.
It was pretty long. Yeah, 3 stories.
Yeah, in an elevator even. You're lucky we didn't make you take the stairs. We're gonna get right into your questions. Again, in Twitch chat and on our Reddit page, submit your questions there. I'm gonna be pulling from Reddit. We've got Tyler, CRB Non back there working on pulling those questions from Twitch. He's doing like 3 jobs back there,
Yeah.
so bear with us. I'm gonna start looking on Reddit. You wanna ask him the first question that we got from Twitch?
Yeah, so this is from Tempo Tantrum. Since drop 2 healing has felt rather low, while damage has felt much higher. Is this a bug? Something that we should is being looked at number-wise, or do you feel is fine as is?
So this is obviously a huge thing right now. This is one of the biggest things since we did this big PvP drop, and we added in we adjusted how the PvP healing and the PvP defense and the PvP offense, all that worked, PvP power. And it is definitely a little bit lower than where we want it to be. I wouldn't say it's a bug, because it's something we wanted to try out, reducing healing in PvP, because it was pretty much over the top. You'd see in a lot of our battlegrounds where the groups were bringing in maybe 3 healers, 4 healers, and you'd get very few kills in some of these matches, just because both teams would be kind of going at each other back and forth. No, you wouldn't really see health bars moving that much.
Right.
So we toned healing down. We did it too much. So we're going to be looking at possibly bringing that back up a bit to not nearly to where it was before, but we are going to look at increasing it some more, because we want players that like playing as healers to enjoy healing in our game. We just don't want them to be unstoppable healers that make it so that our gameplay is just clusters of people that don't die.
Right.
As far as the damage side of that goes, we are looking at possibly toning down how much damage is dealt in player versus player combat. This is something that we might do straight up just through the damage. We might look at increasing the health pools that players have, because what we've seen as players have been getting through the Elder game or the end game, we're seeing them getting this better gear. We're seeing them fully rune up, getting as lethal as possible with their amp and their ability selections. And then on top of that, these PvP changes also increase the amount of damage dealt to players, especially if you're dealing with a player that has lower gear than you. You're going to be dealing a lot more damage to them. And so we are seeing that burst damage is pretty strong right now, and we were on this razor's edge before where burst wasn't too terrible, but now we're getting to that point where we just tweaked it up just a little bit, and that's tweaked up enough in PvP instances. This is where it's over the top. In the open world, we're seeing that damage dealt increase through PvP gear is by a lot, because we actually do a different damage dealt formula in instances than we do in the open world. And in the open world, damage is being increased by a whole lot if you're in the full 1800 PvP gear.
Right.
This is something where we're seeing people send in videos of like charge shots in for over 20k sort of thing. When they prep up, they get all the buffs beforehand, but still, that's a lot more damage than we necessarily want to be seeing happening in player versus player, at least with the sort of health pools that we have right now. So we are definitely working on this. It is not where we want it to be, and we will keep you updated as we get these updates in.
Cool. So this is from Treya. What do you think is the largest obstacle towards creating the class balance necessary for a strongly competitive PvP scene? It's a good question.
So the challenge, just from the first point, like you don't want your class to be homogenized. And if you had fully homogenized classes, balance would be really easy because everybody would have the same tools and toolkit.
Right.
That's the first step, because we wanted to make our classes play a little bit differently, each of them. Besides that, when you're working on MMO, you're having to think about all the different aspects of the game besides just PvP.
Yep.
So
Dungeons, PvE, I mean, the list is pretty huge. And those are 3 radically different game types. So, I mean, when you're thinking about that stuff and balancing towards that, I mean, creatures attacking from the level of dungeons, and bosses, and how much they attack versus how much regular mobs attack, the difficulty between all those, it's huge.
yeah, we can very rarely look at something just from a PvP angle and say, oh, we should adjust this for PvP specifically.
Right.
So we try to do things like make certain abilities harder to hit, which I mentioned a little bit in the last stream, I think, such as making telegraphs a little bit smaller. Something like that is a bigger hit to PvP than it is in PvE, because in PvE it's generally easier to hit NPCs because they're not going to be moving around as much.
Right.
Besides that, there's also the itemization aspect that is introduced in MMOs. And when somebody has gear that's a little bit bigger, that's a little bit better than your gear, you can take a class imbalance that might be very minor or isn't even there really, and you can turn that into something that is fairly significant based on that gear difference.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of challenges that are associated with it, and but we'll just keep working. I know that's going to be the theme of it. We're going to keep working. We're going to keep working.
We're going to keep working, keep on keeping on. I've got, so this is like a 2-part question from 2 different people, but they're like right on top of each other. So I'm going to ask you both. So this first part is from DS Swayze, and the second part is from Richard Still 002. So heals have been over-nerfed given the state of damage across the board. A low time to kill means for a lower level of skill in a game. This also affects melee and other short-range classes. In what ways are you going to improve healers and their viability? Second part is, what is your vision for healing in PvP? Healers are having trouble keeping up with increased burst damage that was introduced with the changes to PvP stats.
So I kind of touched on this a little bit with the first question that we got in, and that is we are looking at increasing how much healing healers can output. It is not where we want it to be. On top of that, we are not super happy with the kill times where they are right now. We don't want it to be all about burst and then somebody's done. We want there to be some counterplay. We want stalkers to be open up and the players still have some health left where they can do something, they can get out of there, they can get a heal, they have some chance of living, or they're dealing against a spell slinger. We don't want them bursted down in one combo from charge shot plus 3 assassinates. That is not what we're going for. So we will be continuing to try to increase the survivability of players, reduce the damage, increase the healing output a little bit to accomplish that.
Cool. This one is from Johnny's, I think. Tether does not currently have a diminishing return immunity like the other CCs. This is exploitable, like the 8 Stalker Walatiki team I faced last night. Is this bugged, or is this intended?
This sounds like a bug. If it does not have DRs, which it should have, that's definitely a bug. So we will be looking into that as soon as possible.
There you go. This one's from Space Yeti, who has asked questions on the show before. What are your specific plans to normalize AP and SP scaling between classes?
So what we're going to be doing, specifically, this is still, it's not going to be hitting in the next drop. It'll be coming in the drop after that. We are going to be changing the stances on the tank classes, because currently all the tank classes have stances that give them a damage dealt buff. We're going to be taking all of those damage dealt buffs off of those classes. And then besides that, we're going to be adjusting the assault power and the support power on those tank classes to bring them up to where they should be. We're not only going to be adjusting the tank classes, but we're also going to be adjusting the medium armor classes. And what I mean by where they should be is everybody's going to be getting weapons that have the same amount of AP on them. So right now it's kind of strange that as an engineer you could get a gun that has the same gear score as a spell slinger's gun, but the amount of assault power found on that weapon is lower. That's going to be different. That's going to be so that they're all the same once patch 4 drops. Besides that change, excuse me, I need some water.
Oh, look at this. Water bottle from the future.
Yep.
What the hell?
Popped over like a robot.
I know. Flap.
So my wife said that I need to drink water this time, because last time I was kind of just going on and on and on. I got red-faced. And
Oh, that's cute.
I appreciate it. I'm going to get red face right now because I mentioned
Your
that.
wife is watching. I've seen the chat. There's been a couple people saying you're a looker. So he's tanking, ladies.
I am.
Look at that beard, though.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, let's ask another
I'm
question.
back to this question. Where did I leave off?
I honestly don't recall.
I was so thrown off by that water
Oh,
bottle.
man, I just totally. Okay, we're talking about the APSP changes on all the classes. Okay, so I'm glad to pick back up where I left off.
Yeah, there we go.
So besides making the
Seamless.
weapons be all similar to one another, we're also going to be adjusting how those classes scale off of gaining their primary attribute. So for a warrior right now, you get, I think it's 0.37 points of assault power for every single point of brutality. We're going to be changing that so that it is up to the 0.61, which is the same that spell slingers and espers get. So everybody's going to be having the same size assault power pools. They're no longer going to be having these stance buffs that are increasing damage. And this is going to fix a couple of things. This is going to be fixing the fact that right now, those classes that have tank stances, things like item specials actually work a little bit better for those classes because they're multiplying all of their damage output. They're not just increasing the damage from their abilities, they're increasing that. They're also multiplying the damage that they're getting from per level part of their ability contribution. So for every ability in the game, you have some of your damage coming from your assault power or your support power, a mixture, and you also have some per level damage coming out of that. So that is getting an increase based on those stances. Besides that, there is also what is the last part of that? Man, I just got lost again because of my water bottle. But that's okay.
It is a big distraction. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Well, let me move on to the next question. I'm sure we're gonna have a few of these questions are gonna overlap because we got a lot of questions to go through, and I've already forgotten what we've asked because I'm trying to go through Reddit. Reddit.
I feel like we're
has
going to be
blown
answering
up.
the same questions a couple times.
Yeah, which is fine. Reddit is blown up. We got a lot of questions there. We got a ton of questions on Twitch. This is from Stephen Davies 84. And feel free to disagree with this, but why are both Medic and Warrior in a mess right now? Warrior needs its DMG toning down, true, but not ruining Rampage and not replacing it with anything meaningful. Whirlwind is a massive DPS loss when used, and the damage doesn't cut it either.
So I don't necessarily agree that they're both a mess right now. I think that if you watch some of the higher end medics, they are now competing quite well with their DPS and dungeons. Excuse me. And patch that we're going to be having coming up before too long, we're going to be helping them out a little bit more with Gamma Ray specifically. Warriors, they started off just right out the gate. They started off really strong, and we have made some adjustments to them, which I think has been perceived a little bit worse than it actually has been. Some of the changes that were made have actually been listed in the patch notes more than once. So I've seen people see like, oh, why are you adjusting the Warriors again? And it's actually just an issue with our process where we sometimes have patch notes that come up and they get duplicated. And so you think that something's getting nerfed more than it actually is. We are still seeing Warriors do really well in both PvP and in PvE, and they also bring a lot of group utility with Power Link. They're increasing the damage to their entire raid.
It's like 4 groups per one of those, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's and at different tiers it goes to different things, right?
It gets stronger the more points you put into it.
Right.
So, yeah. So we don't think that they are in a very bad spot at all, but we are looking at, as we've mentioned on a lot of our forum posts, we are looking at adjusting a lot of abilities on all the different classes. And for the Warrior specifically, we are mainly focusing on increasing their tank viability.
So something I wanted to point out too that I think just from a tank perspective on the Warrior is something, or even just a tank perspective period, that is really beneficial I think in dungeons that I'd like to point out that I've used a couple times. One of the things that you'll notice when you play WildStar is when you interrupt a monster or group interrupt a monster, they go into what we call a moment of opportunity. So they actually take more damage as a result of that. So during that time, you'll see like a purple health bar above creature, right? When that happens, a lot of the DPSers start to get a lot of the threat put on them, a lot of the aggro put on them because they're doing so much damage and it's multiplied by the fact that they're in that moment of opportunity. As soon as that creature is done being stunned, if you use a taunt from a warrior, that is super helpful in getting that back because at that point, you're probably losing a lot of aggro because everybody's doing so much burst damage that taunt really can help out a lot. So just wanted to throw that out there as a
the taunt.
advice.
So taunts are really good for grabbing, forcing a creature to attack you, because taunts will actually force the creature to attack you for a short amount of time. Whereas you also want to be using your intimidates, because that will match you to the highest threat of anybody else that's on that target. So if a DPS does jump out in front of you, you can use your intimidates to jump on top of that. But even with that said, the warrior is definitely in a place where their threat generation was not as high as some of the other tank classes, and so we have something going in the short term that will help to address that by increasing the threat generation, and we have bigger plans to make their rotation more interesting for tanking specifically in the future.
There you go.
Sweet. We got another question I'm going to pull from Twitch. Sarik. PvP. How do devs feel about the state of PvP? Many players, myself included, feel gear/queues are very broken.
So queues were definitely broken. There was an issue with our matchmaking that was causing it so that players that had a rating, I believe that players had a rating below 1500, like at different splits. So if your rating was below 1500 and then you were an arena partner with somebody that has a rating above 1800 or above 1500, you could not queue up together, basically, because you would get into the queue and then you just never find them.
That was actually a hotfix last night. I forgot to mention that at the beginning, at the top of the broadcast, but yeah, that was part of the hotfix last night, that matchmaking bug that we fixed.
Yeah, so that was definitely a huge issue for the past 5 or 6 days. Now that that's fixed, that's good. But besides that, the whole gear thing is something that we're taking really seriously, and we are looking at possible solutions. We don't have anything set in stone, but the stuff that we're looking at is reducing the discrepancy between the different sets of PvP gear, because we don't want it to be that we don't love the idea that just because you're in 1800 gear, you're gonna win a game against
everybody else because you have that, right?
Yeah. So we are looking at reducing the gaps between those pieces of gear, which will help. I know there's been a lot of other things thrown around. I don't know the specifics for how we're going to be adjusting the queue issues in the future. Besides this, that would be more on the PvP team to answer those sort of questions.
But please note that it is something that we're looking at and working on right now. And it's not, we don't have a fixed PvP button we just press and then things magically work. It is something that we have to look into and have a lot of systems that are dependent upon that. So we have people looking at it right now. That's what we're kind of focusing on. So cool, this was from Son of a Bear 85. From the devs POV, what is the highest priority PvP fix being worked on?
So from my perspective, because this is something that I have something to help control, is the damage that's coming out of the PvP, the new PvP stat formulas, adjusting how much damage is being dealt to players, the amount of burst damage. That's the highest priority thing from my perspective, from the class side. Like, we want to get the time to kills to a spot where it is more reasonable. We don't want these insta gibs, and we also want to make sure that healers feel like they can contribute to the team.
They're viable and that sort of thing. And I think the other side of that is what we just talked about. I think gear is another big focus for what those guys are working on the system side of things.
And I know that also right now, again, this is something that the PvP team is working to fix. They're very aware of it. They're trying to get it fixed in as soon as possible, is the spawn camping issues that we're seeing in some of our battlegrounds. We're seeing some battlegrounds where players are able to get into the enemy team spawn and they're able to just sit up there.
That's a hotfix that's coming in as well.
Yes.
So.
That might be part of later this week.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. It's obviously a top priority. I hate campers. Every game.
It is pretty awful.
Every game. You just...
Well, spawn camping is like the worst. Too.
Well, yeah, that's pretty brutal. You get in, all right, bam, you're dead.
But it's our fault for allowing it to be possible. We don't want this to be possible. It's our fault. We're trying to fix it. That said, it'd be nice if you didn't do it.
We got a question from Reddit, FF14. Can we get a nerf on Spellslinger Root? It's just about the only CC that has no counter or breakout gameplay, and it's given to the class with the longest range.
So roots are not the only CCs that have no breakout gameplay. There's a number of CCs that don't, and the thing is that you can cleanse those. So that's one thing that we're not seeing a lot of in.
Yeah, I think the warrior has a
BGs.
leap. Like if you like tier up the leap, you can break out of CCs.
Yeah, you can break out of snares and roots with that leap ability.
Right.
So there's definitely a lot of CC breaks that you can use. to get out of routes. That said, we have seen some things on the Spellslinger's route, but that's not one of the highest priority things on our list. That's one of the things that will get tuned in the future as we resolve some of these bigger issues.
Right. Cool. This is from Keltzor. If I know how to balance all classes perfectly for PvP without screwing over PvE, who do I contact?
I guess you could send a resume in and just let us know.
Yeah.
Just give us a full list of everything that you're going to do to fix everything.
I mean, I would love to see that list. I really would. Because that, mean, it, like, in all honesty, maybe Keltzor really does know the magic. How difficult is something like that to attain? Like, the absolute perfect balance.
I don't know.
It's never happened.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Any PvP related game for the most part that is online and an MMO sort of thing, it's never perfect. There's never a point in any game's history where there have been good balances, definitely, but perfect, it's never happened.
And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Like, it's like Keltzor, I'm sure is a very smart individual and has played a ton of games to be able to make some kind of claim like that. But it's, like you said, almost impossible.
Yeah, there's always something.
And that said, I mean, we do have some significant issues that we are working to resolve, like with the PvP stats, with certain classes scaling, with their PvP offense or with their assault power scaling, that sort of stuff. There are some significant balance issues that we are aware of and that we're working to resolve. The problem is that it just takes time. We can't.
Right.
Just because we know there's an issue doesn't mean we can instantly fix it.
Or maybe it's fixed on a current build, but it takes a little bit for that build to get out and get QA approved. So, you have to wait for that to actually happen. So, yeah. So this is from Garzek. Medic healers currently don't need to use actuators in 5-man content and PvP. Are there any plans to address medic heal actuator usage?
Yeah, I mentioned this a little bit on the last stream, I think, that we definitely are looking at ways of making sure that medics care more about their actuators and have more ways of interacting with their actuators. I feel like it's probably a waste a little bit to not be worrying about your actuators, but if you're able to get through that content, then either maybe you're overgeared or maybe there's some other issues that I'm not fully aware of that is going on with that specifically. But we are definitely looking at, again, we're looking at abilities that are underused or that are underpowered, that sort of thing, to make them more viable.
Right. Cool. So this is from Gidio Vimeo. Why is the 1800 PvP weapon the best in slot until the Omna weapon drop?
This is not really something that I could answer.
Yeah, you're not the items guy.
Yeah.
So
We'll have an item show eventually.
Well, again,
Soon.
we've
Again,
had Jeff Talon on the show to answer some of these questions, but
Have we had Joe? We haven't had Joe on yet.
we've had Joe
Quickly?
on for before we started doing these weekly.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, but we'll have Joe on too. He's the items lead, so he'd be the person to ask on that one.
I could speak a little bit to the reasoning, why the possible reasons are. And the possible reasons are that we wanted to make sure that players that did PvP could do better in PvP with PvP gear than they could with PvE gear.
Right.
And that's something that we saw an issue with our old PvP stats where players were using PvE gear with a mixture of PvP gear. And we've kind of resolved that with the new patch. We've introduced other things that we're working on, but it's just that we want to make sure that the stuff that you're getting in PvP is better for PvP than in PvE. That said, talk to Joe about it, and I think we are working on some sort of solutions to make it so that that is not the case.
There we go.
I got a question from Reddit. I don't know why I needed to sing that. I have a question. Basileel. I don't know why. Okay. There are a ton of amps and skills that are not, dare I say, ever being used in PvP. Will each class say a rundown with these amps to either change them or correct them to make them useful?
So I can't say that one day every single amp is going to be useful in both PvE and PvP. The amp system is actually one of the places where we are able to design some things that are more specifically useful in PvP versus they're more useful in PvE. That said, this is a running theme, I've said it a couple times already, is that we are looking at the amps that aren't being used and trying to make sure that they're
Right. But I mean, yeah, I
more
mean, we have
powerful.
sections in amps when you're tuning them that are specifically for game types, so it's not like...
We started off, when we first started off with the amp system, we had it much more specific to a certain branches, specific to PvP. We've kind of loosened that up a little bit, but you'll still find amps in those trees that are more specific to PvP.
Sure. So this is from Bebop712. Any chance on tweaking trigger fingers so it doesn't seem so mandatory?
So we've already made one adjustment to trigger fingers. We do think that it's a really powerful amp and that we are probably going to be moving it up in the amp tree to cost some more amp points than it currently does, amp power than it currently does. Right now it only costs 4. We're thinking about maybe moving it up to the 6 cost amp because we like how it changes your rotation when you're using trigger fingers, that you are using abilities faster, your cooldown abilities faster, and so we like how it works. We'll keep looking at the balance of it. Also, the drop rate, I know, is something that we've been looking at a lot. We had something that was kind of a little bit of a fix that went in, but we're looking at increasing the drop rate a little bit further, so hopefully that'll come out before too long as well.
Gotcha.
Here we go from DS Swayze. I think I asked the question earlier. Do you plan to narrow the telegraph of charge shot to make it harder to aim, given that it is so large right now? How do you plan to bring spell slingers more in line with other classes in this game?
So with the patch that dropped last week, we actually reduced the size of the charge shot by half a meter. So we did reduce the size already. We'll have to see how that plays out a little bit longer before we reduce it anymore. We have another change that's in the works for charge shot to help take off some of the burst damage that spell slingers are able to currently put off. On dev right now, this is not on live, and I can't say for sure when it's going to hit live, but I think we're aiming for it sooner rather than later, is that instead of the tier 8 just straight up increasing how much damage charge shot does, we're going to be having it apply a dot. So it'll apply maybe a 5-second dot is what we're working at currently, and this means that you won't have quite as much burst and you'll have a little bit more sustained DPS with charge shot.
Word. So this is from Dark Scion Zero. How is time to kill now versus prior to Sabotage, and where do we think it should be?
So this varies. The time to kill shrank dramatically when you're looking at players that are in full 1800 PvP gear versus players that don't have any PvP gear. That's one point where the numbers have gone off a bit. I'm not the numbers guy for our team, so I am not aware exactly of where the time to kill numbers are in comparison to that, but we know that they are lower than where we want them to be. This is something that we talked about a little bit earlier, and that we are looking at increasing those time to kills.
Cool. This is from Toasty Coats. How do you think Esper's Warden performs in PvP?
This is one of those abilities that fields in PvP generally aren't always useful. Heals, at least as an ally, you know, oh, I can go into that healing field and I can stand in there and I can get a little bit of healing. Whereas if it's a damaging field, it's going to be something that players move out of. And so we do have some changes coming in for damaging fields. That said, Esper's Warden, I don't know if it's necessarily the best PvP ability right now because of just the way that our PvP is flowing. The amount of healing that it's putting out is not huge. It's not like a burst heal or anything like that. So with what we're seeing right now, it's not super strong for that regard. It could be useful in battlegrounds where you're putting it out for a big clumped up group of heals.
You're fighting over a mask in Walatiki Temple and you're in that area, that could be...
Yeah, if you're going after points in halls, you might want that. But overall, it's something that we know that a lot of the Esper abilities are not seeing as much use as we would like them to see, so we are looking at increasing those heals to make them a little bit more attractive compared to like some of your more basic heals.
Gotcha.
Got a question. When are you pulling your head out of your asses? Oh. Not even going to read his name.
I'll let you guys take that one.
Not even read his name.
I mean...
Look, these are the kind of things that make me not want to read your question because you say stuff like that. There's no need for it. Well, we're here trying to answer everybody's question, as many questions as we can.
Also, we'd sound a lot more muffled if that were
Oh, dude, I mean, if my head was in my own ass, or,
Hey, damn, it stinks in here.
yeah, I said it stinks in here because it's my ass. All right, moving on. We've got an actual question here. There should be other. Oh, this is from Howitzer. There should be other incentives to PvP, like cosmetic rewards, titles, housing plots, mounts, etc. Gear itself that gives huge advantages should not be tied to rating.
So again, that's probably more of an items thing. That
Items and the PvP team having some sort of progression system besides just the gear is definitely more on the PvP and itemization side.
So this is from Seztrin. Mortar Strike does not have any synergy with the Engineer's amps and does not do very well in PvP or PvE. What do you plan to do to make this skill better besides fix the bugs?
I'm glad you asked that, Sestrin. So we are making a pretty significant change to Mortar Strike. We've announced some changes to Reap coming up, which is one of the Esper abilities that it used to be a finisher, and it still is a finisher on live, but we're going to be changing it so that it's no longer a finisher. We're actually going to be doing similar treatment to Mortar Strike in that we're going to make it so that it is not something that it's not going to be something that you're going to be using to eat up all your volatility. It's going to be something that you're using in conjunction with either Electrocute or Boltcaster. It's kind of extra DPS add. We're going to be making it so that it deals significant burst damage. 1 second.
I don't need
Gotta
that water
take
break.
the water break.
Dude.
It's wife mandated.
The coffee break.
That's a coffee.
Oh, it's you're switching it up.
I got both here. Just in case.
Damn. So many liquids. I don't have any.
But we are looking at both the tier 4 and the tier 8 on that ability as well, since we're going to be kind of changing how it's being used. And we're going to be making those tiers do stuff that changes up your rotation a little bit and also increases the potency of the ability. So we have some pretty big changes coming in a couple of drops for Mortar Strike.
Cool. So this is from Hollowfield. When you guys are changing a class, what is the first thing you look at?
It really depends on what it is that we're changing with the class specifically. So if we identify an ability that's not being used very frequently, like Mortar Strike or Haunt, we just think about what's the main point of this class? What is the main point of this role? What can we do to make this class better at that role or that fill that niche that the class is bringing to the table? And then we try out a lot of different things.
Cool. So this is from Warmonger Skulm, which is a pretty rad name. In the forums, PvP community is asking for cross-faction RBG and bringing competitive gear to RBG as well. Will we get any cross-faction RBG to increase competition?
This is another one of the questions that is geared more towards the PvP team slash the itemization team. This is not really something that falls into the class side.
Yeah, Kevin Lee would have been the person to ask on that one, and or Joe Pipora, both of which are on Twitter.
At Dev Muffin Man. And what's Jay? Dev Muffin Man is Kevin Lee's, and what's Jay?
It's just Jay Pipora, I believe.
Jay Pipora.
Yeah. So if you want to talk to those guys, they're on Twitter. This is from Sunset Blade. Why are the Warrior and Medic DPS rotations so heavily modified by RNG procs, Rampage resets, Recycles procs, when the other 4 classes' DPS rotations are more or less static?
It's because, well, one, we have the same class designer that is the primary on both of those classes, so it's interesting that you notice similarities between them. 2, we definitely tried out different things on different classes. So we tried out the RNG on the Warrior. Before we added that, it was at a time where the Warrior wasn't in really that great of a spot. Its rotations didn't really feel that fluid. And that change came in, those changes came in at the same time that we started adding in quite a few things. There we go.
Yeah, it's all good.
That helped make the Warrior feel better. That said, we are not loving RNG where it is right now, so we are looking at ways of pulling out that RNG and making it a little bit more predictable. We really just, when we introduced that, it was because we don't want all of the ability rotation to be the same. We don't want players to just be hitting buttons on cooldown or anything like that. That's why we added in abilities that are proc abilities that come from crits, that sort of thing, across most of the classes. We want players thinking about that stuff. That said, we're also not really looking at making super complex rotations because our game is very action-oriented. When you're doing these raid encounters or if you're in PvP, you're moving around a ton. You don't really have a lot of time to focus on a super complex rotation that might have been possible in an MMO that was more stationary, where you're just standing still in the same spot and you never have to worry about any AoE damage or anything like that. So, sure.
I have a question from Reddit, number 1 rated question. I played PTR and this is from, Tricinta. I played PTR and the 360 Wild Barrage was a well-known bug, yet made it into live, and clearly the PvP offense and defense were not working properly. How can you assure us that every time a drop lands, it won't be in complete shambles? This is more kind of a question for you and like production and like what the process is and what steps we take to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen, even though sometimes it does.
Right. Well, what that usually entails is we have PTR testing, then we also have internal testing, and so we have to go through these builds individually and incrementally. Jeff Virtue is the live producer behind a lot of this stuff. He's actually the better person to ask on this, but I can tell you that a lot of what we have to do is kind of look through a massive amount of things. Now, was that known? If that was known to us internally, we probably wouldn't have launched with that. But I think that may have been something that people either didn't actually say or find out in our QA. There are going to be things that slip through the cracks, and that's not an excuse on our end to say, we let something buggy go through. That is mea culpa on our part. We let in something that was, pretty game-breaking, and unfortunately, stuff like that does happen. Now, moving forward, what we can do is we have to more thoroughly test through the PTR stuff and really take a look at, is this something that we need to kind of continue, or is the aggressive schedule that we're putting out one that we can sustain? And if it eventually gets to the point of where we are introducing more game-breaking bugs by introducing new content, we're really going to have to take a look at that. Now, that being said, I'm not the live producer. That's not my responsibility per se. But I think those are the kind of things we have to look at. And yeah, I mean, we understand that when those things go in, they are frustrating, and we completely hear what you guys are saying. And if anything, not to get on a side tangent on this or a rant per se, but there are few companies that are willing to bring on their lead class designer and answer questions that are, not always pleasant or difficult twice. And we've also brought on the items guy. We've also brought on all these other things. And the very interesting thing is, I've been seeing, we read Reddit, we have Twitter accounts. I usually respond to people's points of, areas where they think things are broken or busted or, or whatever. We are working on those things, and we completely get it, that there are things that will break. And this has always been part of Carbine's MO, which is we will take into consideration feedback, concerns, problems, and we work to address those things. The thing that I've been seeing more is people expect us to fix these things in a span of 2 minutes. But the thing is, we can't do that. It's not physically possible. What we can do is look at these things that are broken. We are looking at the things like itemization in PvP being a problem with people that get gear that is higher ranked than others, and then steamrolling others as a result of that. That's not fun. We understand that. There are loads of things that need improvement, and we are working towards those things. So, some people are like, well, that's it. I give up. This game isn't perfect. If that's the case, then, I apologize that we have not made a perfect MMO that has hundreds of hours of content upon release. And I would also argue that if you look at any other MMO that has launched, that they were not perfect at launch, and far from it. And they've improved over time. Some of them have had 5 years, 10 years to do so, or longer, depending on the game. So we hear you guys, and we completely understand these things can be problematic, but we're trying to also maintain people's happiness with new content and fix bugs as well. And so a big focus for us right now, something that I can't answer developmentally, is that we are heavily focusing on bug fixes presently, so that we can have a big drop of fixes for everybody. And it's not like we can throw the entire team on design stuff. We have half of the company are artists, and we can't say, hey, artists, go fix all the design issues that are coming up. So people can fix what they can fix in the amount of time that we're working on. So sorry if I'm seeing ranty here. Or
No, you're not at all,
going
man.
into
I mean,
it. I'm
that's
trying to be quite honest with you guys.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's something that we've always kind of done is being really transparent, and they give us our honest feedback. We're gonna give a little bit of honest feedback back.
I don't know if it's honest feedback so much as it is, that this is what's happening right now. And so, yeah. Apologize if it's not sunshine and rainbows. I'm sorry, guys.
To wrap it up, you said something earlier in the day where it was before we started streaming that the devs are listening, definitely. That doesn't mean that devs are able to respond to every single post, every single tweet, every single comment, and change that immediately. The devs are listening, but that doesn't mean that those changes are going to happen immediately. Like I said. Yeah.
Sure. Also, if you want to come and talk to us about anything that you love or hate about the game at PAX, we'll be around hanging out. We have that community event.
Yes.
We're pretty good about hearing people out live in person or, on the computers.
Yeah. So we got time for a couple more questions. This one is from Flambadiddle. Flambadiddle. Can we get class-based colors on the party health window for the healers?
So I think this is a pretty good suggestion. I can pass this along to the UI team and see what they think about it.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. This is from Big Bad Blue. I keep hearing we are looking into this. Are we as players not helping you enough on the PTR to find these problems? Well, I mean, that's an interesting point. You can always help us out by letting us know via the forums or things like that. What we do internally, just so you're aware of part of our process, is if something comes up that is problematic on the forums, we have a group of people that kind of bring that up and then bring them to the attention of the people that are actually in charge of fixing these things. So for example, the Wild Barrage problem where you were able to just rapid fire constantly, or no, charge shots, excuse me. The charge shot stuff where you're able to fire like rapid barrage, we fixed that in a span of 5 hours, I think, which is pretty good. That's pretty fast. Now
We're not going to be able to fix everything.
yeah, not everything, but for the most part, the things that are whoa, that's obviously going to be something that you can exploit, we look into pretty quickly. But definitely let us know in the forums, and if you do see something on the PTR, obviously we'd love to hear it.
All right. So I got one last question for the day, and I'm going to just tweak it just a little bit to make it fit more for class. This is from Emblazon2. What aspect of the WildStar class system are you most proud of?
So I would say, this is a good question.
I'm going to need the water bottle for it.
Yeah, I'm going to need the water bottle. I need to think about this for a second.
Oh, look at that sultry sip of the water.
I'm proud of a lot of different aspects of the WildStar class system and the WildStar combat system, including the ability tier system. I really like it when it shines, when we add in ability tiers that really change up your ability rotation, that sort of a thing. Abilities that now that you see that ability tier, now you want to put the ability on your bar instead of it. We don't get that all the time, but the times we do get it, it feels pretty good. Besides that, I really like how the limited action set is played out for different elements of the game, where you are taking different builds in one encounter than you are taking in another encounter, and that you are using a different build for 2v2 arenas than you are using in a battleground sort of a thing. I think that has worked out pretty well. I also feel like all of the classes play significantly differently to one another when you look at them, and there's a different feel that every class has, and I think that anybody that's really played one of the classes, different classes to 50, or have played against a lot of the classes, know that you're looking for different things when you're going up against those classes. And those are the things that I think we've done a pretty decent job on.
That's awesome, man. Well, like Frost said, thank you so much for coming on. There are very, very few. I can't think of any kind of studios that do this kind of thing that will dedicate you here for 2 hours. I mean, you're the lead of class design.
I know nothing's going to get done. That's not true.
Do not say that.
That's not true.
You're working overtime today. All right. No, seriously, thank you so much for coming to the stream and sitting here. Those were not all, very few softball. I think the last question, that was a softball question. That was softball because, we want to,
you sandwich things. You go oh, that's adorable. That's adorable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
When we started, I said, people are saying you're really attractive, you're cute. Oh, let's talk about your wife. And then we got the tough questions, and we ended it off with something that you're proud of. So
It was a real,
like
it
I
was a
said,
real joyous experience.
It really was, yeah. Thank you for sitting here and kind of taking it and taking all these questions and drinking that water. I'm gonna have to get me one of those.
It's nice.
It is time for some fan art,
I want to see it.
and we've got a new title screen. Let's throw it up there.
You ready, Tyler?
Oh,
Fan art
fan
from
art
the
from the
community.
community.
Wait, hold on. Who did that? Who did that? Adrian Marquez? Man. Why do I look- why am I in the background? Why am I in the background?
All right, now we pull it. That's a theme song that I just wrote. I improvised that theme song. I like that ending. So yeah, that is actually from Adrian Marquez. Give him a shout out on Twitter at HollowMash, and check out his Tumblr, amarq.tumblr.com, because that was pretty badass. And I even asked him to do that. So he did that from the last time I said, oh, I want to just, we need a title image with my arms just like, ah, and then like rainbow letters come out. I did that, remember? And he made it. He drew it. And you're in the back scowling at me.
I'm not scowling.
You're scowling. You're just, fan art.
That's because I don't really do that.
Anyway,
Who
our
knows?
first art piece is from Kyle Wanton's fiance. Not Kyle Wanton, Kyle Wanton's fiance.
Holy crap!
Right?
That's pretty impressive.
She stitched that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, dude. Super badass. I love it.
My grandma has never made a badass blanket like that.
Yeah, your grandma needs to step her game up because
kidding.
Kyle Wanton's fiance is kicking your grandma's ass. Kyle Wanton, thank your fiance. Give her a nice big hug from us. That is some beautiful stitch work. The next piece is from Caleb Metz. Metz with a Z. Some in real life fan art.
Whoa, that's a big ass sword.
Oh yeah. Super cool. He actually messaged us and was like, "Can I provide fan art in real life?" Absolutely. If you take the time to do this in real life, please send it to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would look pretty rad on your back, or
Oh, yeah.
smashing through some skeech.
I'd love to smash through people with that.
Skeech.
God, why? You should totally shoot him with the Nerf gun for that.
No, that was. I didn't say anything bad.
Disgusting. This next piece is from Pixoloco. Pixoloco.
Would you stop with that? We're not doing the song.
Pixoloco.
That's badass.
Super cool. I love this look.
Dude, that is like I picture like a narrator talking about this, like
He knew that the day would come where he had to smash all of the Dominion.
and then it would go in on the Granok's face, you know what I mean? That's pretty rad.
Okay, this last piece is from Cuba.
Damn.
This is like a
Maybe
like
that's the
almost like a-
close-up of the badass Granok. That's
A lot
rad.
of warrior
Yeah.
love today.
Yeah. You got to. This is like an army wanted. Like I want you.
Yeah.
For the exiled army.
Uncle Granog.
Uncle Granog. My name's Uncle Granog.
Cuba.
I want you to fight.
That was rad.
Yeah, thanks, Cuba. Again, thank you, Adrian Marquez at HollowMash, for providing us with a new community fan art image title. I'm super stoked about it. Why are you smiling?
It's funny.
He just likes it so
I
much.
know, it is
funny.
really cool. Let's start up. It is time for our favorite moment of the show. It's the epic moment of the week. You held it.
I did.
We didn't talk about that.
No, we didn't.
You didn't even we didn't even practice it with me. I tried to catch
I know.
on.
No, we were on. He like held it before a little solo. He just needs this. Frost is gonna spotlight. This is Togrim. He's got so a level 50 spellslinger ganks him. Yeah, he's a level 39 Esper, and it's a ganking fail. It's a ganking fail.
Yeah, some ganking etiquette.
Ganking etiquette.
If you're gonna gank someone, make sure you can finish the job. You know what I mean? You kind of run up and look, this is coming from the guy that obviously didn't finish the job with Tony last week.
You're damn right.
But I will say that, come on, man. If you're gonna go in, make sure you go in with guns blazing. Not this stuff. This guy was able. Let's also be fair. Togrim is pretty good. So if you can heal yourself, staying alive while being attacked, that's awesome. But I don't think this guy was really prepared for the movement that this guy had to get out of stuff.
Oh yeah.
The
Very
slinger
nice.
did a little bit too much backpedaling
Wrecked.
through the whole thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the only backward movement you should probably do is some dashing, because at least that'll get you out of the way of stuff. But That was
Pretty impressive, though,
That was
right?
some good.
Level 39 taking down level 50.
Yeah.
Skill-based.
Also, there's some not safe for work language in that video, so if you go and watch it.
Oh, yeah. Did we mute it?
warned.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
it was
God.
muted.
We would have had to shoot Togrim with a Nerf gun.
Yeah.
Several.
Yeah. Several.
Hey, that was awesome, though. I love ganking fails. Send them our way. If someone ganks you and you wreck them, send it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back on Thursday. Frost will be gone, but I will be here and we'll be doing some PvP action.
Oh boy.
That's right.
What's happening?
Listen, I'm actually going to see. If you missed last week, Frost and I dueled, and I got the W. I rocked his world.
I didn't double tap
owned
the head
him.
is the
I
problem.
wrecked him, grabbed his face, shoved him in the ground.
None of that
spit-
happened.
Spit on his
Here's
body.
this funny.
kicked him
I
a little
told
bit.
Tony, I'm like, look, if you actually want to do mano y mano, like on a mountaintop in like Galaris, like where the Falcon are, where it's all like lightning and stuff, and it's like, you know, you could have been the chosen one, that sort of
I
thing.
feel like we need to throw out a disclaimer here, by the way.
Yeah.
When you see them PvPing, please don't take that to think that that is the skill level of all of our
Let me tell you
developers.
something.
Let's also
Let's
point
just
out,
PvP.
Hugh Shelton, hold on. Wait a minute. You can't throw me under the bus like that. Secondly, there have been some times where the production pit has gone up against the class team and has come out victorious. It's happened. Has it not happened?
Here's
No,
the
it's
thing.
that-
Next
that is
time,
not
next
happened.
time,
That is
That
completely
has never
just have the
happened.
class team invite me, and I'll show you guys how I defeated Frost. It won't be a big deal. I'll handle it. I'm never gonna duel you again because I have nothing to gain from
Yeah,
that.
you have nothing to get because you'll
Nothing to
lose.
gain,
I wanna
'cause I
see-
got the W.
I want to see the production team. He's just said the production team beat the class team.
We'll
I
have
want
to
to
do
see
it.
that
It has
matchup.
We'll have
I
to
want
do
to
it.
see
We'll
the
do it.
matchup.
We'll
We'll
do
see.
it.
We'll see if
do
it can
We
happen.
will do it. We can't do it this week, but we'll do it soon.
Yeah,
okay?
I wanna see that
Production team versus the class
Yeah.
team. I love it.
This is gonna
It's
be
going to
nice.
happen.
This is gonna be
folks.
fun.
We'll be back on Thursday at 11 a.m. right here, twitch.tv/WildStar. Make sure to follow us on all our social media channels because we're awesome. And thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you for your questions. We really appreciate that you guys have so much passion that you're willing to write in questions and watch this show and provide us with an audience to talk to. So thank you so much. We'll see you on Thursday. Goodbye.
I don't believe it. Planet Nexus now lies before us.
We're approaching the Elven facility. Cambot 1, Cambot 2. You getting this?
Our work on this planet is something greater. It is something truly divine.
We shall reveal the ancient secrets of Nexus.
Ever get a feeling something seriously wrong?